All right, we dancing, we dancing.
Welcome back to another episode of the Winner's Circle, everybody. I am so excited for the conversation we're about to have because I already know it's going to be super magical. Our goal with this podcast is to bring you guys people who are winning in the real world. And what winning looks like is living your dream life with you're not doing anything anymore that is against who you know yourself to be. You are listening to your heart, you're following your passions, you are providing to the world what you know you can provide. A lot of the time, this path is not the traditional path, and it's not what a lot of people believe they can do, but we can all do this. And so we want to bring you guys messages from this current so that you can step into your own power and follow your dreams and live the life that you dream of living. So Derek, please take it away.
All right, I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest, Taiha, and to everyone listening. Internationally renowned yoga teacher and global ambassador for Lululemon. This Saskatoon-based teacher is the founder of One Yoga Studios, which includes locations in Saskatoon, Victoria, Vancover, Kelowna, Iceland, and Trinidad and Tobago. He has also created the nonprofit Vinyasa Yoga For Youth, which has introduced yoga and mindfulness to over 4,000 kids in his hometown of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. He is one of my greatest teachers and inspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Leier. Welcome to the Winner's Circle.
Thank you so much, Derek. Thanks, Taiha. I'm really honored to be here with you all.
Great, then we're excited to get started. And we always get started right off the bat with a really important question that I think is something we should all be asking ourselves regularly and moving forth on that path with that North Star. And that is, what is your mission, Ryan Leier? What is your purpose here in this reality plane?
Oh, wow. Straight to it. I like it.
Straight to it.
I feel like my purpose is to honor my daughters and to be a parent. And I feel like my purpose is to take care of myself so I can take care of other people. Like, I kind of like a lot of my mentors are kind of like servants to, I want to be in service to make the planet a better place, you know? Without burning out. I want to burn bright and not burn out.
Beautiful. I think it's so crucial that we all understand that it always starts with ourselves, right? We can't make the impact that we want to make if we are, first of all, not putting ourselves first, not doing the things that we know fill our spiritual cup so that it's overflowing, so that other people will get some of that love rather than, trying to just focus on serving the planet and helping the planet, whereas your spiritual cup's not full. So it always starts with ensuring that you're doing what you need to do for yourself so that you can be that person for other people and lead by example, because, people will understand, people will feel like the difference that you can make just by the person that you're being, right? It's not even like telling them to do things or whatever. It's leading by that example so that they can feel that energy that you are radiating, and then they'll feel that uplift of vibration around them. So that's a beautiful and very simple yet all-encompassing mission.
Yeah, thanks.
And an example of how Ryan's done that in my life is we did a yoga class with him online, you and I, and my speaker cut out when we were in meditation, and I didn't realize the speaker cut out, so I thought that was Ryan teaching me, and I had one of the most profound yoga practice I've ever had, and that's because I thought he was just watching me meditating and just challenging me to be still, and that didn't happen. And then the next week class, we were, I think, in a down dog, and he asked us to jump into a headstand, and that's not something I practice, like almost never. And I was able to do 3 in a row, and it's hard for me to do one. And I jumped from a down dog into a headstand 3 times in a row. just from the fact that like Ryan's energy was with me, in noise, in spirit, in my heart. That's the kind of man Ryan is, and he does just that. He leads by example in his being and in his doing.
Oh man, you're giving me thank you. I appreciate that. Giving me too much credit though, man. You're amazing. You know, I'm really into Gandhi. I took some religious studies and nonviolent movement in university. And there's a story about Gandhi where this woman waits for a couple of days. She walks with her son for a long while and she's waiting to get darshan with him. So she gets up the front and she says, Gandhiji, will you please tell my son to stop eating sugar? And he says, no, but please come back in 2 weeks. So she goes back home, comes back 2 weeks later. She finally gets the front of the line. I understand she walked for like a long ways with her kid. And she says, Gandhiji, please tell my son to stop eating sugar. And he's like, son, you must stop eating sugar. It's not good for you. And the woman is happy that he said that. And she goes, thank you so much. But why couldn't you said that 2 weeks ago? And then he goes, because I myself hadn't stopped eating sugar. So like his autobiography, I think he called it Experiments with Truth. So I try to, if I'm going to be a yoga teacher, I try to practice yoga, you know? And one of my old school teachers, he's like, you got to practice twice as much as you teach if you're going to teach. And then definitely practice what we preach, right?
Yeah, that's so funny. My wrestling coach, there's a lot of, I wrestled in high school, and there's a lot of wrestling coaches or just coaches in general who will do the like yelling at you and like, do this, do that, run this, blah, blah, blah. But my wrestling coach, we would have crazy intense like conditioning like pre-season where we do sprints and like running on the stairs and the bleachers and everything, and he would lead us, like he would lead and do the running with us and set the pace and all of that. So that was such a beautiful way to set the example and like for us to truly like trust in him that he was doing this for us and not, you know, it's so easy to just like have the coach put themselves on a pedestal and stuff like that. So I think that's really good. Like practice twice as much as you teach. And what's so cool is when you teach it, it is where you learn even more. And then you're just getting like triple, quadruple threat of learning so much at one time. It's so awesome.
Yeah, word up.
Yeah, that's a lesson that Ryan, you've taught me many years ago. That's always stuck with me. And that's practice twice as much as you teach. And it's something I take very seriously. And again, just a testament to the mark you leave on your students, or the ability for one to leave a mark on others, is all the gems that you've shared with me are now a part of me and a part of my lessons I teach to others. It's so wonderful. And I think a big part of this is enjoying the process. So on the path of becoming that best yoga teacher you described, it's enjoying the journey, not being concerned with the destination. And that's how Taiha and I connected on the path of going for our win. And what that means to us is that's enjoying the process rather than being destination orientated, and practicing those reps of being here now, the observer, the perceiver of the present in every moment. What does that mean for you, Ryan, going for your win? And how does your win look like for you today?
Yeah, good question. So with, you know, with the uncertain times that we're in, and with the lockdown, like with myself, I was on the road in almost constantly the last few years. So I guess the win for me is to just like not fall apart, because I've gone through cycles in my life of anxiety and depression and just really getting decimated by those extremes. And so for me, it's a win when I can just like be thankful to be on the planet, to be honest with you. Like after going through some really dark depression. And so for me to be able to get through this, I really do rely on my family and my prayers and my yoga practice, just to stay positive and to stay, to stay in the light.
Beautiful.
In the light and of the light, which you are.
Yeah.
And which I feel, and which you've given me so much light, Ryan. And it's hard to, when you talk about this depression, anxiety, all these challenges you face and overcome, it's so hard for me to see that, because from my perceiver, from my observer, you are shining. You're so illuminescent. I can't see that darkness and those struggles you've had to overcome. Can you maybe share with us a bit more about those struggles and what techniques you use to overcome them, and how you continue to use those as a process?
Yeah, cool. So I'd say, when would it have started? The anxiety would have started when I was really young, and the depression came in the university days and was a constant battle during I used to play like semi-pro basketball, and when I was playing ball and competing and and playing, I was good. But when I wasn't, I would go through some pretty dark depressions, and then got into a couple of relationships that weren't super healthy, and then got really dark. And I had done like meditation fairly consistently, not super consistent, but I'd done meditation. I'd done a 10-class yoga thing. And one day my sister called me and said, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm just trying not to jump out the window." And I voiced those words. I started crying. I was like, oh, I didn't know that it was this bad, but I had gotten to this place where I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to talk to anyone. It was like the beginning of a few times where I had suicidal thoughts. And so I went to the library that day, and I got light on yoga and journey into power. And I was like, this yoga felt really good. And I just had a sense that it would help me. I'd heard it would help people's mental health. So I kind of like jumped into it, and then I never really looked back. And it's not that I didn't go through the ups and downs. I just was able to kind of surf them a lot better when I was doing my meditation, prayers, and yoga. And then, I had a little baby girl, and we lost her right after she was born. And I don't talk about it too often, but she came, and then I had her, and she left in my hands. We didn't think she was even going to survive the pregnancy. She was alive for 4 or 5 minutes. And that I dealt with it for about 9 months. I was taking care of my partner at the time, my daughter, my parents, and I was good. And then that was when I got hit. Like after being really mentally stable for years, then I hit a really dark, like suicidal depression after losing her after a few months. And then I went on medication, and it kind of stabilized me. And throughout the whole time, I would be getting onto my yoga mat, even if I couldn't do anything other than just lie there and watch my breath. So I would use meditation, yoga, and just being in connection with friends and family to get through the dark times. And it's like a constant thing. I'm always doing the yoga and the getting in nature and being in touch with friends and family, just for like preventative medicine. So when the next wave comes, it doesn't drown me,
Thank you so much for sharing that. My heart is just pouring out love to you. That is such a beautiful, beautiful journey that you've been on, because it's so easy for whatever, is thrown at us to just totally veer us off track. And it takes that consistent work to do the things that will keep you feeling centered and grounded and in that place of love, no matter what happens. And back to what Derek said, he talked about, you know, he sees you as this person who like, how, like, I don't see that at all. And it just goes to show, like, first of all, you have no idea what's going on in anybody's head at any time, you know, who they can be for people. The fact that you could be that person and still be dealing with this, first of all, is just showing your strength. But we just really have no idea what's going on in other people's heads at any moment. And it's really interesting that you said that not until you voiced those words to your sister, I think it was, or friend maybe, that you realize how bad it was. And it's crazy how automatic and just, we just think that's the way it is and that's normal, like the automatic thoughts that go in our heads that can, you know, go down a path that we really don't want them to, but we don't even realize that that's happening or how bad it is until we share it. And that's why it's so crucial that we start sharing more about mental illness and whatever's going on with you, because we tend to think we need to do everything ourselves, or like our society has created this taboo about mental health, and so many people deal with these kinds of thoughts, but nobody talks about them because they think it's negative, it's weak, it's going to be looked at as bad. But so many of us deal with similar things that if we were sharing it, we would be able to support each other more. So I'm just very thankful that you were able to voice that, and then, you know, face how intense it was getting, and then take the necessary steps to get yourself to where you know you needed to be. And it's insane how much we tend to think like, oh, we need to be at this level, like feeling really good all the time. And as you said, it's a wave. Life is literally a wave. There's no chance, it's not possible for you to just be at this high vibrating state all the time, no matter how many tools we have, meditation, yoga, breath work, whatever it is. Like, you're not going to be able to sustain this. So it's not about trying to sustain this all the time, because when you're not able to, you're going to get even more frustrated. I've been dealing with this a lot myself. Like, I feel a lower energy day and I'm just like, okay, what's wrong? Like, how do I fix this? It's not about fixing or changing anything. It's about learning how to just be where you are and know that that is perfectly fine to be there, and that it's a wave. You're not going to be there forever. And the more that you can just be grateful for just being here, existing, as you said in the beginning, like surviving and using what you can right now, your family, yoga, meditation, to get yourself into that centered space, that's all that we need to be worried about, right? It's not about trying to, you know, do all these things or get somewhere with this state that we are in as a society right now. It's like, it is such a win to just be able to be during this time. I think it's what this like whole slowdown of our society has caused. Like, it's forced us all to slow down and learn how to just be. And some people are really uncomfortable doing that. And that's kind of telling of, you know, maybe this is the time that you've needed to learn how to just be. So that was a lot of response that I had for that, but you had so many beautiful points. And again, just thank you for sharing all of that.
So
thanks for sharing, Taiha.
So Ryan, what advice, like, so say we have a listener right now and they're going through some of these things, they're going through suicidal thoughts. Let's attack that one first. What would be your words for them? Someone thinking of ending their life.
That, you know, there's a George Harrison song, All Things Must Pass. And what I've come to realize and to understand is that these feelings do subside and they change and pass. And even if people have been in it for months, it eventually will pass. Like, it's the nature of reality. And kind of like Taiha said about those waves, it's natural to have ups and downs. And like the people who really feel the ups and downs, they they don't they won't stay. So I would say there's always hope, and like you can you'll be all right one day, and you just kind of gotta hopefully ride it out, and know that one day there can be freedom from the darkness, or there will be light, or there will be some, well, from my experience of being like hopeless and suicidally depressed, without going super like bipolar, I've been able to come back from the depths a couple times. So there's hope. There's always going to be light there somewhere, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you? Oh, go ahead, Tara.
I just wanted to touch on how I think that it's really beautiful that we as beings can feel such intensity. Like that isn't something that a lot of beings get to experience. And we have coupled these types of feelings as bad in our society. And nobody, we can choose to rewrite that story of what we label these things as, like, of course they're painful, of course they're hard, but there are ways that we can associate, like reassociate different stories with those experiences, and understanding that you are never given anything that you can't handle. Like you have the power of the entire universe in your body, and you can handle, and as you said, you will get to the end of it. You just have to believe in yourself and understand that there's a reason for this pain, and that you can get through it, and you can learn so much from it. It just takes, putting one foot in front of the other every day, knowing that you are going to, there's the symbol of the arrow, which is, you pull it back, you have to pull it back for it to shoot forward. And that's what I think setbacks and just all of these things that we've dealt with. I've dealt with eating disorders and body dysmorphia for almost 10 years now. And all of these types of issues, like, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to deal with the mental illness, because you learn to look at life in a different lens had you not had this issue to deal with, and you have the ability to catapult yourself into knowing things and being certain ways because of these issues. And I think the more that we can spread that message that it's not bad, that it's not negative, the more that people will feel that power. I think our society is just really written things off as negative and positive. Those are things that we make up,
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan, we talked about
Mm-hmm.
hope a lot in that response. Where did you find hope, and where do you suggest someone to start looking for that hope when they're in that place of total despair and darkness and they can't see hope? How did you find it? How did you see it? And how do you advise others to find it?
Well, the last time I remember it being really bad, Kaya was my daughter. She's 18 now. She would have been about, 2000. She would have been about 12. And I was like getting ready for bed one night, and she came upstairs, and she's like, "Dad, do you mind if I just sleep beside you?" So she slept beside me, and so I had lost one daughter, and I just watched her. I couldn't sleep, but I just watched her breathe and listened to her breathe, and it gave me such strength, because I was like, oh my God, I still have one daughter here who's really relying on me to be her guide and to care for her. So having Kaya was really the light that brought me through the last time. I remember it being really dark. And for those people without hope, I got this quote from my teacher's teacher of meditation, Anthony DeMello. I think he's a priest as well. But he's a teacher, definitely. And he said, most people are just trying to change themselves. And as Taiha had mentioned about, we're not supposed to have these bad feelings in society and depression is bad. It's like, he said, don't change. If you're trying to change yourself, you'd probably be in deep trouble. He goes, change is the enemy of love. Love yourself just as you are, and all change will take place. So there, it might sound, not to you guys, but to people, it might sound corny, but like, love is the answer, and the truth will set you free. You know, I think Jesus said the truth will set you free. And I'm into like all faith and all spirituality, and I do feel like if you're in denial of how you're feeling, or if you're in denial of truth, then you're going to get yourself into trouble, and it might get worse. So the remedy is love, I believe.
Mm-hmm. What does love mean to you, Ryan?
To me, like I was thinking about it last night, because, you know, I took religious studies, and I've gone to different temples and churches, and I've wanted to be a Buddhist monk. I've wanted to be a Christian priest. I've wanted to be a yoga teacher. And I think of God as love, and the positive vibration that like a Rasta like Bob Marley or Ziggy Marley talks about. Ziggy Marley said in one of his songs, "Love is my religion." So I think love is some like the realness of spirituality, like the Buddha's compassion, Jesus' unconditional love, Allah's, like, I heard a story about Muhammad. He's walking down the street. I look at it like the heart of every religion. So Muhammad's walking, he takes the same route every day, and this woman, one is always throwing garbage out of her window and cursing at him and giving him trouble, and him and some of his crew are walking through. And so one day nothing comes from the building, so all of Muhammad's people are like, oh, that's good, like she's not yelling and throwing stuff at us. But his depth of love, he ended up getting concerned, I think after a day or two, that she didn't show up. And so he had one of his people go up and check on her to make sure that she was okay. And then the story goes that she was sick, and they helped nurse her back to health, and she became one of Muhammad's followers. So like, that's love even for the enemy, you know? So I don't know, like, if Muhammad was a prophet, or if Jesus was a prophet, but I equate God with love. And I think that truth is very close to God. And truth is like, yeah, that's a long answer. I feel like it's God.
So then that leads me to the question, would you say that, you know, people have their view of God, Christians have their view of God, there's different views of God, right? Would you say that, are you saying that God, your God is love, or that love is God? And if so, who is God to you?
Yeah, whoa. Oh no, I'm getting confused. Yeah, I don't know. When I think of God, I think of I feel the energy of like the mother or the father to like love for their child, or for like, hopefully if you see an animal who's suffering, like you want to hopefully take care of it. And that's what I think of love, is like generating. I don't know if it's realizing that we're actually all family, or that, I don't know, Taiha. I don't have a lot of language for my spirituality, really.
Mm-hmm. It's a knowing, it's a feeling, isn't it? There's not really words that can describe that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
That's what Taiha and I were talking about this morning. A lot of these knowings that we've been encountering during all the introspection we've been doing, during COVID, it's hard to describe with words, even drawings. Sometimes people could use it in music, but it's very hard to explain these knowings, these truths. And what I try to do with that is I try to be that. I try to be these knowings, be these truths. And I think you do the same. I see you doing the same.
Yeah, thanks.
It's so crazy. You know, I think we're all familiar with this spiritual world and spirituality and all the possibilities that are around us. And we are in this reality where we use words and we use drawings and we use music to explain these things. But in my opinion, there's very likely realities that those don't even exist, and like they use something else to convey things, right? So I feel that there's just so much that so many of us know, but we can't fully explain it using this reality's, you know, way of conversating, of communicating. And I think that kind of shows the fact that we all know what each other's talking about, even not using this reality's way of communicating, shows how connected we are and how family we all are, because we literally all came from the same place. No matter what, this whole earth, this whole existence, like we are all from the same energy. And we've just in the society been raised to believe in this separateness, that we are different from one another. There's definitely differences, but that doesn't mean that we are separate, that we are divided. There's diversity, but our being, we really are all one. And I think that's why we can understand each other without using the normal communication that we use in this realm, which I just thought about this. So that was kind of cool to realize.
Yeah, you know, I feel like even more powerful than words are vibrations, like they're underneath the words. And I don't know if humanity has the word power that we once did. And like, can you, Michael Franti-san, can you say what you mean and mean what you say? And I think that so much of it is just vibration and is beyond words. I had a thought about, I don't know if I'll be able to remember it. I'll see if it will come back.
It goes back to what Derek was saying, right? About being. The way that we be radiates that energy. It radiates that vibration, that energy. And that's when people will be able to feel that and take it on if they would like. That's why it's so important to be choosing wisely with the energy that you do consume, whether that be the people you are around, the media that you're reading, the food that you're eating. It is literally everything in this existence is energy, and we are all feeding off of each other's energy. So the more that we are surrounding ourselves and feeling those people's energy that raises our vibration rather than brings it down, is crucial. Because imagine if we all really knew this stuff as a society, as a planet, and didn't live in this fear and lack and limitation mindset. Like the whole planet would be so different. We wouldn't be trying to sell people things benefit and they're gonna not benefit from it, like there's so much like I'm winning, you're losing type of thing in this reality. And it's just crazy to me because I know that we are all one, but so many can't even conceptualize that. And the more that we are doing this stuff, conversating with each other, sharing our ideas, finding the analogy, the more that I think we are going to be able to spread this message of love, of oneness, and hope for our planet. She really needs us.
Yeah, word.
Ryan, how did you start deconstructing these beliefs that we were implanted with as a child, growing up, through society, media, culture, even in our epigenetics? Before we were born, we've been imprinted with things that say, this is real, this is what is the way, that are opposed to what we're talking about, that the way is already within. Everything you need, you already possess, and that's rooted from a place of love. how do you deconstruct, how did you begin deconstructing that? How did that deconstructing process begin, and how does it continue with you?
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll answer that, and I remembered what I wanted to share before with, and it's White Buffalo Calf Woman. So I'll try to bring her into this. So how I kind of deconstructed it, the first thing that I think of is Star Wars, and like growing up on as a huge Star Wars fan, like learning about the Force and learning about unlearning. And so I really started to look into spirituality even in high school. I took a religious studies course and got into a little bit of the martial arts and got into meditation and started to look at different ways. And then the indigenous, I got so blessed to be here in Cree country, and I get to go to Sweat Lodge and have elders and get the indigenous teachings that have really spoken to me. And like the thing about like we're actually related, and we're related to the animals and to the trees and the plants, and that whatever we do affects everything in the universe, as Ty was talking about, the oneness. And I've got a favorite saying from, let's see if I can find it on my other phone. Hold on. Do not allow. Last thing I Googled was Forrest Gump. I was running. I was trying to get his, I was doing a Lululemon run yoga class, trying to get his voice. So one of the Lakota elders or teachers, and it's interesting, Ty had mentioned about the competitiveness now, and like that's always been, but this like us against them and this competitiveness. And White Buffalo Calf Woman was a female teacher, and I feel like we need, she doesn't get the respect that these other prophets have got, but I feel like hopefully through all the changes that are happening now, there can be a little bit more respect for Mother Energy and the planet and Mother Earth, and put some of that energy in positions of power, you know.
Totally. That kind of reminds me of, you know, we've been talking about, Derek and I have been talking about masculine and feminine energy, and how all have masculine and feminine energy within us. I am a physical, the feminine, but that's all I'm not just this physical body. You guys are not just the masculine physical body. We all have both of those in us, but our society is in the super distorted masculine energy right now, all about doing, do as much as you can, work so hard, super structured, super rigid, you know, give. And all the females are even taking that on, you know, mothers feel uncomfortable receiving any help because they think they have everything for their family, and so I'm personally really working on learning how to be in more of the feminine energy, go with the flow. I might be frozen right now. Oh no, I'm good. Going with the flow and just understanding that, you know, letting loose on the reins and thinking about our society, and if that kind of energy was implemented a little bit more as you're talking about, we would just be so much calmer and like more in balance if we had a bit more of the healthy versions of those energies rather than the masculine taking control right now.
I hear you. You know, you made me think of this. Oh, Siri came on my other phone. You made me think of what I got to study with Mr. Iyengar, PKS Iyengar, like this legend. This guy was like an electrical storm of energy. And his son said this thing. He's like, I often bring things back to yoga, and I know that you're practice too. And he says, all of you people, you're doing yoga, but none of you are getting done by yoga. And so, and he's teaching the pose, and he's like, okay, you can do triangle, but can any of you receive and like be triangle? And he's like, you're a bunch, and Baron Baptiste says, you're a human being. Why are you just a human doing? So that receptivity and the intuition, yeah, we could all tap into that. This place would be a lot better.
Yeah. And that again always starts with self. We have the power to affect the whole collective, to affect the whole universe, looking inward and seeing, where are we out of balance? Where am I in my distorted masculine, distorted feminine, needy, controlling, blah blah blah. Actually, controlling might be, I don't know what it all is, but there's ways that we can just bring awareness to, and then make those small shifts where we become more in yin, because that's the whole thing. We have been searching outwardly for this person to be in union. Real union happens with yourself, with these two energies. And then when you have that union within yourself, you will attract somebody who has that same of energy. And that's when we are able to create absolute magic that we don't even understand we can do yet. So again, as you talked about in the beginning, like always staying with yourself and seeing where's the automatic programming that you're running as if it's just how the way it is, but it's not. Everything that we do and be and happens to us is our choice. It's just about realizing that, and then possibly shifting what you need to be shifted so that you can meet yourself in the place that we came into this world as love and bliss, and then we were taught all this bullshit. So again, it's like that unlearning, peeling back the layers. Who are we really before society told us who to be?
Ryan.
Yeah, word up.
Ryan, what have you learned about the balancing of the masculine and feminine? What does that mean to you, masculine, feminine, and how do you work with both?
Yeah, masculine, feminine, sun, moon, inhale, exhale, giving, receiving. It's like eating, digesting. There's so many, like you can find those dualities everywhere. And for myself personally, I try to meditate to be receptive, to be able to listen to, like the Quakers say, the small, still voice within. I really do believe that we have the source of perfection, or the universe, or God inside us. And it's just that we kind of usually tune out the source by whatever it is, food, sex, alcohol, yoga, whatever, but we don't always listen in into the intuition. And I always think of the intuition as a feminine quality, and to be still and to listen. And I also like think of the feminine as like fierce Kali energy. So for me, it's like, as a yoga teacher and the beginning of this, and I'm still working with my ego, so I try to be more internal and listening in, and I try to be more humble, because I spend a lot of my years trying to prove myself competitively and egotistically. So a long answer to that question is I try to remember that I don't know everything, and that I make lots of mistakes, and I don't know, there's some kind of energy of forgiveness and intuition and just like creative power. I feel like my creativity is a lot connected to my femininity too. So like that, yeah. And then there's left brain and right brain, and like Ida Pingala, and being in the center. And I'll just keep riffing just on one more thing, because I'd like to know what you all think of this, because I've read it as like, you know, mankind, but it's humankind, but yogi, yogini, yogin, like, I think we're at the core of ourselves, we're beyond our masculine or feminine, we're beyond those dualities, you know?
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
absolutely.
I wanted to well, first I loved that you said you are still working with your ego, because I think a lot of people have a negative connotation of the ego, and your ego can act in distorted ways that are negative to our being. But it's not about like defeating the ego. That's not what it's about. Again, left brain, right brain, all of this duality, masculine, feminine, we need one with the other. In this reality, we need one with the other for balance. What I think all are striving for is balance within all of those things. Left brain, right brain, breathing, inhale, exhale, like balance, balance, balance. And it's not about having one winning over the other, as a lot of people talk about soul and ego, right? Like ego is necessary or we wouldn't have it, right? Nature works in a way where it does away with what's not necessary, right? So we need all of these things to function in this reality. However, people have been, given things a negative name, where it's just learning how to balance and have the awareness of when it becomes out of balance. And so I agree with you in we as beings, as our true essence, I don't think, the masculine and feminine is who we are. But I think in this reality where we are, again, it's a reality of duality, right? We have those opposing sides so that we can experience those differences. Same with experiencing love and beauty and suffering. Suffering and the pain, I guess not suffering, because in my head, suffering story create about the pain that makes it so much worse. But the pain, we need to be able to feel the so that we can the ecstasy. So again, not negative or positive, something that as a society we have brought up and made up. We can choose to look at it as a perfect balance, and learning how to be with all of those options of, experience cycles. All of it is to this experience that we are experiencing on this earth at the moment in time. And that's just like, that's the way it is. Like, there's nothing wrong with us experiencing both of those, it's just what we're experiencing right now. But as you believe, and I know me and Derek have talked about this recently, like, that's not who we are. We have labeled ourselves as these things, but really I'm pretty sure we would like agree that we are love, where we came from, and that is our purpose. And spreading that, we've lost touch that, because we've taken on all these identities who we are, who we've told when we were born we were literally just love. That's all we were trying to express, all we were trying to be. We were just trying to have a great time, and then we learned all of this stuff. So pretty cool that we get to unlearn and peel back the layers and get back to our center, because a lot of people don't even understand that that's a possibility, and we are doing it, we are being it, and we are able to allow others to do the same for themselves.
Yeah.
You mentioned humility, Ryan. That's something that I'm working on myself. How do you work on your humility? How do you stay humble? What is your advice in that area for me and the listeners?
Yeah,
And
well,
for yourself.
I don't know if I'm very good at it. I try to listen more than I did, and I also try to be a little bit more responsive than reactive, because I still have a lot of patterns that that are egotistical or that don't serve humility, you know. So I try to take a little break and realize that I don't know everything, and I basically don't know anything, like in the big picture. So I try to remember that, like, that I'm a student more than I'm a learner more than a teacher. And I had a great example with Iyengar in India. He was teaching a pose, and he had one of his senior teachers. He asked everybody to use the wall, and she was like 45 years with him, and she decided she didn't use the wall. And so one of her students was behind her, and he's so fierce, and he was like yelling, but he said, it was the first time I saw him really humble, and it was beautiful. And he said, "You think you're a senior teacher?" He goes, "I'm not even a senior teacher." And he'd been teaching 75 years. He goes, "I'm a junior learner, and that's why I can teach you." So I feel like in order to keep evolving, I have to be open. Otherwise, if I think I've got it all figured out, then there's no room for inspiration or for creativity or for truth, you know, because I don't feel like one person knows the truth. It's like you have to be really paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think it's, if anybody thinks that know everything, then you should not talk to them, right? Because I feel everybody, the older we get, the more we realize that we don't know. Because when you're young, you know, you think that, you know, you just take things on as truth so easily, and then it's all about being open and understanding that we can't even comprehend almost anything that's going on here when you really get down to it. Like, there's people who are trying to figure it out, but there's so much going on that we have not even conceptualized. And the more that you understand that, and like how humbling that is, the more open you can be, and the more you can broaden that lens, because most people in general are like this, right? This is the way and this is the only way. And again, you can't grow that way. You gotta be able to understand that you could be wrong in almost everything, right? It's really been interesting thinking about all the beliefs that I've thought were truths in my almost 25 years, and realizing so many of those did not come from me. Those came from school. They come from my parents. They're not even like what I actually believe. And releasing that is actually really hard, because we're so like, this is, and that's how generational it can be. So being open and learning, and the only way you continue learning is to know that you don't know everything, right? So I think that that's so crucial, that we just continue to be open as much as we can, because there's so much to learn here.
You mentioned many of your mentors, Ryan. Iyengar. Let's talk about some more of your mentors that left a big impact on you, and just maybe describe what that impact was. What were the key takeaways from some? And I know you have many, so let's just pick a handful.
Yeah, okay. My daughter Kaya taught me about acceptance and like unconditional love. My daughter Thora taught me about grace and seeing world. My parents were like my first teachers. Guru was my dad. He taught me about just being a rock. He's always been here for me whenever I've ever needed anything. He's like unconditional support. Like, he's there beside me. He's supporting me. My mom taught me, you know, a lot about sticking up for people who don't. Like, she is a hardcore feminist and anti-racist. She was like a activist. So that she taught me about activism. And of course, she's always loved me from the time I came onto the planet. Iyengar taught me about yoga and discipline and harshness, like the fire of practice, like dedication. He would practice 2.5 hours a day, and he just dedicate everything to yoga. Ramaswamy is one of my teachers. He taught me that like yoga is about being peaceful and tolerant, and like I used my yoga practice to become almost intolerant for many years, and Ramaswamy taught me it's about tolerance. Father Joe, another one of my teachers, taught me about faith. Nikki Doan taught me about fire. Tina James taught me about respecting all the forms of creation. And like this, she climbed Everest twice. She's a hardcore Ashtangi. She's on the TV show Gladiators. Yeah, I've had some amazing teachers. Those are the first few that come to mind, and I'm sure I'm missing many.
Mm-hmm. And I know one thing you have, Ron, is you have a gigantic book collection, particularly books on yoga and religious philosophy, spirituality. Correct? He's gonna give us
man.
He's gonna give us a
Oh,
little.
yes.
Those are all
tour
Yoga
about it.
Sutras here. And this is all like mainly Krishnamacharya and his students. This is all mainly Iyengar and his students. Like these are all written by Iyengar with a little Baptiste. Then I got all my Jesus according Christ the Yogi, Yoga and the Jesus Prayer, the Jesus Mystery, Mystical Life of Jesus was Christ the Yogi, and then just all the other yoga flavors. One day I'm gonna get this like as a place in a proper studio and library. I was inspired when I went to Pune and Iyengar's library. It was crazy, and you could just go there every day and study.
Yeah, and that's why I brought this up. So how do we balance having to study, and there's people get trapped in the loop of always needing to learn, read this book, learn. How do you balance that doing and being, like we talked about earlier, with learning, with everything?
Yeah.
With our consumption.
Yeah, that's a good question. Somebody had said to me the other day, the best thing he ever did was stop studying and get rid of his books and just go inwards. One of my teachers, actually, two of them, now that I reflect, have talked to me about that. So I always feel like the practice balances things out. Like if I get too much in here, just to go into my body and sweat, and it doesn't have to be yoga, but for me it's yoga, but for some people it might be to go for a run or to get into the present moment with meditation. Or I always feel like we spend too much time here, and I teach, like, you know, the high school kids, I'm like, you guys are either here or here. Yoga's like, as humanity, we want to be right in here in our heart, and like expansive. So not just going up and out of the world, but not being bogged down by the material. It's like you'd talked before about the spiritual experience. Like we're made of the stars and the earth, you know? So to be in the middle and to not be, you know, too intellectual, or even I know people who get too spiritual. It's like where they lose track with reality. And with, to me, as a true spiritual person, as I understand it, does good work in the world, like to serve people, not just to be above people and judge people because they're doing this or that. You know, I would sometimes use my spirituality as a intolerant of differences, you know. So it's such a balancing act, right? And it's like a daily thing to get to the level.
Totally.
So many people are trapped in their safe worlds right now, whether that be a 9-to-5 job, a parent, or whatever role they think that they are, and they are unable to serve their true medicine from that place. A big thing holding them back from doing so is fear of the unknown, fear of et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you overcome fear? What is your suggestion for these people that are unable to serve their medicine because they're staying in a place of comfort, of safety, of known, and they how do you encourage people to listen and respond without fear, or move past fear?
Yeah, man. I remember in my high school days, my dad giving me a book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And um, to get towards fearlessness, I feel like we need to go to a really deep, powerful root of ourselves. For me, at least, the advice I would give for people who are dealing with fear is to like get real, and like Jesus said, the truth will set you free. And I feel like, you know, Psalm 46, be still and know who you really are, or be still and then act from your center, not from what you think your parents want you to be, or your teachers want you to be, or your society wants you to be. I have a really great mentor who I've never met, but she's a powerful mentor for me, Buffy St. Marie. Great singer. She's not even in the Songwriter Hall of Fame. The FBI and the CIA banned her music because she's an activist and a lover, and she has a song, It's My Way, and just about like finding your own way. And then I feel like if you're on your own, if you know yourself, then the fear can't quite get you. I don't know how to say it. Fear
Beautiful.
not.
Back to what you had said earlier, and it ties into this. I think having that, you know, desire, some people want to escape this reality, and this reality is what we came here to experience. You know, this life is what we all came here to experience. So it's not about just getting out, right? It's not about not dealing with those emotions that are human, which are fear. Like, that is a human thing to feel, and it is normal to feel it. But it's as you said, like, it's about seeing it, understanding that it's there, understanding why it's there, thanking it for being there, because it's only trying to help you survive, but remembering where we came from, which is just that place of love and that place of universal support. We are always supported. We are always going to be okay. And we can choose to release those fears or act in spite of those fears to get us to those experiences that so many in the society just don't even take action steps to try, because the fear controls us. Whereas we can choose to allow it to be there, just like any of the sensations we were feeling, depression, anxiety, any of these types of pain. Fear could be considered a pain, right? It's just information from our body, and we can choose to thank it for being here, for teaching me something, but then act in accord to who we know we are, which is that space of love.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like that's what we are at the source. You know, as you said that, it brought one of my favorite lines about fear is, there's fear that keeps you alive and fear that keeps you from living. And so like the more you can discern, the better you're going to be able to deal with the fear, you know.
I love that.
So Ryan, out of all the lessons you've learned through your yoga, your faith, your spirituality, your parenting, your relationships, what has been the greatest life lessons you've learned so far?
The greatest life lessons so far are that we actually matter, and we actually have some say on where everything goes. And like Mother Teresa said, do small things with great love. We don't have to become prime minister or president. We can do our lives with great love. So I believe in the power of individuals, and I think Ty had mentioned something about I thought of this quote when she said it, but it's Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. You know, it's our light that most frightens us, not our darkness. And then she's like, you are a child of God. That's, you know, I forgot that after I was about 7. I kind of forgot that I actually like have divinity. Not that I am God, but like that I have a spark of divinity in me that's connected to that unconditional love. Or like Jesus said, to get into heaven, you got to become like a little kid. So I'm like trying to remember who I really am, not who I've been programmed to be. And, you know,
As
it's so funny. Last night I was just talking to a bunch of my friends about how we treat children as if they don't know anything, and they know so much more than adults do, like about what we are here to be and do. We are here to imagine, we are here to love, we are here to have fun. And then society teaches us to be in this, something's wrong, something, you know, we are lacking, we are fearful, like the world's gonna end. Like, it's crazy that we treat children like they don't know anything, and we can treat them like they just want to be treated as equals to us. And if we start looking at them like that, like, oh, we can learn so much, and I think just unlearn so much quicker, because they are our example.
yeah, word
so
up.
as we move to a close here, Ryan, you have to get going soon, and we want to be considerate of your time. We have 3 more questions for you. The first one is, we didn't get to talk much about yoga. What advice do you have for yogis out there listening?
Advice for yogis: don't be posers. Start to learn the yamas and the niyamas, but everything is in the pose, you know. Advice for a yogi would be, make wherever you are, make it a little bit better than it was before you came there. That's one of my favorite things I was taught, is a yogi always leaves the place a little bit better than when they came. So I try to remember that when I go into a room or when I meet somebody, to just give a gift of love or truth, or of something positive, you know. Yeah, so with the yogis, and also if your yoga practice isn't making you more tolerant, you might have to switch it up, because I see a lot of yogis who are more intolerant because of their yoga almost. That's another podcast though.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do another one. We didn't even get to half the things I wanted to ask you, so it's more reason to speak to you again in the future. So Taiha, what's your last question for Ryan?
All right, just thank you so much for this conversation. I have definitely raised my vibration like at least 20 levels in the past hour, so thank you for that. All right, my question is, in 3 words, how would you describe the experience you are having on this earth? Or a phrase.
Wow. The first word that comes is unexpected. I'll just go with what I'm hearing. And the next one is grace. So I'm experiencing, like unexpected grace and education. I just feel like I'm just learning so much.
Beautiful.
And for my closers, we're gonna get all funky with time, because time, I believe, is both finite, infinite, and a bit of an illusion. So let's fast forward to 85-year-old Ryan Leier. What does that 85-year-old Ryan Leier look like? What is his life, and what is the legacy you've left behind?
Well, hopefully I've left the planet in better shape than when I came in. You know, my community, my friends, my family. Hopefully I've been able to help people get closer to themselves and get closer to love. And I'd probably be more looking like Benjamin Button, getting younger, because I will be doing my headstand, shoulder stand, hopefully daily for the next 43 odd year. No, I'm now 44. I just realized I thought I was 42 all last year, but I was actually 43. And it's so funny. So yeah, 41 years from now, hopefully I'll be looking younger and healthier.
Right on. And I want you to take a moment now, Ryan, to picture this 85-year-old younger Ryan Leier. And I want you to feel that legacy and that impact you've had on your family, your friends, your students, the world. Do you see him in your heart? And we have to come back to the now. So we're going to rewind back into the present. And that 85-year-old came back with one message for the current day, Ryan Leier. What does he tell you?
Joy. That's it. Just joy. I could see him smiling. Yeah. And we can enjoy it. It's not all just rainbows and butterflies, but we can enjoy this trip. That might be part of the reason we're here.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. We'll have to do this again in the future. Forever grateful. Let's bring it in for a fist bump. We're all in this together. Boom.
Boom.
Thank you so much for this conversation. Where can our audience find you?
Instagram, Ryan Leier, Leier. That's probably the best place to find me. One Yoga or Instagram or Lululemon.
Beautiful.
I'm super grateful to have spent this time with you. Thank you, you two. I feel on a way higher vibration. And thanks for this sweet talk. I wasn't expecting it to be so. Yeah, I feel great. Thank you. I feel lit up.
And I hope.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I leave you guys with the White Buffalo Calf Woman poem for everyone?
Yes.
Please.
And then for the people who are still tuned in, good work staying. And if the people who just fast forward to the end, they get some really nice gold at the end. So this is from White Buffalo Calf Woman, from the Lakota Instructions for Living. Friend, do it this way. That is, whatever you do in life, do the very best you can with both your heart and your mind. And if you do it that way, the power of the universe will come to your assistance. That's if your heart and mind are in unity. When one sits in the hoop of the people, one must be responsible, because all of creation is related. And the hurt of one is the hurt of all, and the honor of one is the honor of all. And whatever we do affects everything in the universe. If you do it that way, that is, if you truly join your heart and mind as one, whatever you ask for, that's the way it's going to be.
Yes, we literally can learn to use our minds and our hearts as one to create whatever we want. We are magical. We just got to remember it.
Yeah.
Aho, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much. Much love.